All right, this is Writing Ninja. This is 31st of October, I believe it is, 2016. Halloween tonight. In fact, it's getting into the evening, and I'm going to have to go downstairs in just a little bit and break out the candy, if I can remember where we put it. Anyway, bear some thought. Writing Ninja here, going to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to talk about here. I made a list. That's what we're going to talk about. The first thing on the list is talk about lists. And the second thing is talking about multiple projects. And the last thing I want to talk about is increments or gradients. Increments, yeah. All right, cool. So here's a list. That is a big list. It's a list of, this is dated 10/29/16. And it's everything that I need to get done, the current projects I'm working on, and what not like that. I'll let a piece of paper serve as my memory because I guess I don't have one, or I'm not sure that I use my head as a memory storage device. I think it's more of a shock absorber than anything else. But now there's an old saying, a 5-cent pencil, I guess it's back when pencils were 5 cents, is better than $1 million memory. So, you know, I make lists. I make a lot of lists. So, the reason for that is I just knocked something off my desk. Wow. Okay, cool. So, you don't just sit down and write a book. You don't just sit down and build a car from the ground up. You don't just sit down and conquer Europe or something like that. You have to break it down into easy-to-do steps, fundamental, easy-to-do steps. And I'm a lazy person. Some people don't believe me when I say that. I'm really the laziest person I know. And they say, "Oh, George, you're not lazy. You did all this stuff. You wrote all these books, you know, and blah, blah." And, yeah, but I know me. You know, I know me. and let me tell you something. I'm lazy, and I have to put things down so in order to cross them off. I feel great, and when I'll cross something off. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll cross something off, and then I'll write done. I like writing done, or checking it off, or scratching through it. I go like, I'm one step closer to being able to frickin' relax, which is my propensity. And when I'm too lazy to write down a list, I'm gone. I mean, game over, you know, just, you know, give it up right there. But anyway, so if you're going to be successful in anything, I would encourage you to make a list. Those things that you know that you need to do, you need to get done, and hit the ground running with those lists and knock them out one by one if you possibly can. Mostly my list are things like, number one on my list, finish proofing the Lone Star Express and publish on CreateSpace. Number two, re-upload the Lone Star Express corrected to Amazon. That means there's some errors in there, what have you. Finish writing Neptune's Forge, that's number 3, and send to publisher. I'm sending that one to the publisher. Then finish writing Trinity Trio and publish it. And then, you know, and number 5, see what is and what is not published on D2D, that's draft to digital, and rectify that. And then prep number 6, prep Cattle Cold or Air Moon on Audible, and blah, blah, blah. And the list goes on. There's 16 items right now on the list. The list is 2 days old. But, I mean, and this is a segue into the second item on my my list of about lists and things. is multiple projects. Now, I don't know how many of you think that you live a linear existence. You live from one day to the next and you go from one thing to another. Maybe you do, but it doesn't feel like it for me. I don't feel like I live a very linear existence, because something's always competing for my attention. I'm hopping around. I'm jumping from one fire, or putting out one fire to the other. I will go from one thing to the other, and then it's like, when do I have time to write? And if you're like me, if you have a life and you've got things going on, then you when do you have time to write? Well, I've got my lists and I've got my multiple projects, because sometimes I'll be in the mood to write, but I don't know what I'm writing on. Well, I've got my mainstay project, the one that I'm working on right now, the one that's hot and heavy, the one that's focus of my attention, the one that I will invariably dream about. I'll have these very lucid dreams or what have you. That doesn't wholly get my attention, or I don't usually write what I dream, but sometimes I dream about what I'm writing about, if you follow me. But there's one that's always the one that's hot, the one that's on the front burner on the stove. But I'll have, I guess on my stove, I have about 15 burners. I found out how many burners I have on my stove. I guess it's a commercial stove in my little commercial kitchen mind or what have you, because I found out when I reached 15 different writing projects that I short circuit. I mean, I was like, and you could smell things burning. Beyond 15 projects, I can't seem to function. Up until that point, I do very well, and I can hop from one to the other. And that's the other thing. Some people say that there's this thing called what do you call it? Not burnout. It's see, I've already forgot. Writer's block. They like to talk about writer's block. Well, I don't know what that is. I'm not certain what that is. I think that if it's anything, it's having only one project and not being able to work on that. Maybe that's what it is. So I've got all these different projects, and when I'm not working on the main one, I'm working on the second one in line, which might eventually become the main one that I, finish, and I'll get there. So if you're a writer, I would say write. If your existence is such that you can sit down and linearly